the most rebellious thing she'd ever done. In the duty room of the hospital, Callie Norris was putting on her doctor uniform. Tonight was the first night of her marriage. But when a colleague had asked Callie to take her shift for the night, she had gone straight to the hospital without hesitation. Looking at her reflection in the mirror, Callie straightened her lab coat and smiled bitterly. No one cared where she went anyway. All of a sudden, the door was violently kicked open from the outside, sending it crashing against the wall. Before Callie could look up to see what was going on, she heard the click of the light switch, and the whole room became pitch black. Scared out of her wits, Callie trembled, her hair standing on end. Before she could finish her sentence, she was slammed onto the desk. The items on the desk clattered to the floor, and a sharp knife was pressed against her neck. "Don't speak," a voice threatened. In the dim light, she could only make out a man's face covered in blood and a pair of fierce eyes. The strong smell of blood filled her nostrils, and she knew this man was injured. Perhaps it was her professional training that had taught her to stay calm in emergencies. She gently bent her leg, trying to strike at the man's vulnerable part. But he noticed her movement immediately and clamped down on her restless legs with force. "I saw him come this way." Footsteps approached the door. From the sound of it, they were about to open the door. In a moment of desperation, the man lowered his head and kissed her lips. Callie resisted, easily pushing the man away. He didn't use the knife in his hand to hurt her. She froze for a moment. Click. Just then, the doorknob turned. Callie made a split-second decision, tilting her head up to kiss the man, wrapping her arms around his neck. Her voice trembled, but she tried to sound calm. "I can save you." The man's Adam's apple bobbed up and down, and in the next second, he switched from passive to active. His hot breath fell on her ear, deep and sexy. "I'll take responsibility for you." No, he misunderstood. She just wanted to put on a show. As the door was pushed open, she mimicked a sound she had heard on TV, a soft, alluring moan that made the man even more entranced. It also made the person at the door's heart race. "What the fuck? It's just a couple making out here. I can't believe they'd do this at a hospital." The door opened a crack, letting in a bit of hallway light that fell on Callie. The man pressed his body against hers, blocking the view of the people at the door. In the dim light, only their intertwined, passionate silhouettes could be seen. "That's definitely not Shane. He's badly injured. He wouldn't have the strength to do this, no matter how sexy that woman is. You have to admit, that woman's really good at making slutty sounds. Shut up and move. If we can't find Shane, we're doomed." There were rustling sounds and footsteps fading away. The man knew that his assailants had left, but he found that he couldn't move away from the woman. He licked his lips, his lust blinding his reason. The crisis was solved now, so Callie tried to push the man away. But just as her palms pressed against the man's chest, she suddenly thought about her marriage. Her whole life had been controlled by others, including her marriage. Her father, a man ruled by his greed, had forced her to marry into the Robinson family. Her grandfather used to be the chauffeur of Charles Robinson, the patriarch of the Robinson family. As fate would have it, he died saving Charles's life in an accident. The small company run by her family had accumulated massive debt and was on the verge of bankruptcy. Her cunning father knew that if he asked for money from the Robinson family, their favor with them would be spent. So he came up with a vicious plan to make his daughter marry Shane Robinson, Charles's grandson. In this way, their family would finally establish a more solid connection with the Robinson family. Besides, given the Robinson family's wealth, they were sure to get a lot of benefits in the future. The Robinson family couldn't afford to refuse the proposition, or they would risk losing face in one way or another. Shane was extremely dissatisfied with this arranged marriage, so he requested that his new bride never tell anyone that she was his wife and that she keep her maiden name. But no one asked Callie what she wanted. And to make matters worse, the groom never showed up at the wedding, even though no one outside either family was present. Callie had been left alone at the wedding banquet, her face white as a sheet. She felt so humiliated, and she refused to accept it. Maybe it was the atmosphere, or perhaps the overly intimate position they found themselves in, but a surge of rebellion that Callie had never dared to express suddenly erupted within her. Her life, constantly controlled by others, had always been shrouded in darkness. She chose to rebel by indulging herself. Callie didn't resist much. She simply followed the man's lead, surrendering her first time amidst the pain. Afterward, the man gently kissed her cheek, his deep voice hoarse with satisfaction. "I'll come back for you," he said before quickly leaving. Callie lay there for a long time, her waist aching from being pressed against the edge of the table. Just then, her phone, precariously balanced on the table's edge, rang. She reached out to grab it, and an urgent voice came through. "Drive. Ayers, there's a car accident victim at the emergency center. The injuries are severe, and we need you to come quickly." Callie adjusted her voice and calmly replied, "All right, I'll be there soon." After hanging up, she stared blankly for a few seconds. Just now, the disheveled clothes and the wet feeling beneath her confirmed that it wasn't a dream. It had really happened. On her wedding night, she had been sleeping with a stranger. It was the most rebellious thing she had ever done in her life. But now wasn't the time to dwell on it. She quickly dressed and rushed to the emergency center. It had been a busy night. Returning to the duty room, Callie found it still in disarray. She seemed to recall what had happened that night, and her hands clenched slightly. "Dr. Norris, thank you for covering my shift," Belinda Ayers said with a smile as she walked over. Callie forced a smile. "You're welcome. My business is done, so you can go rest now," Belinda said, raising an eyebrow at the mess in the room. "What happened here?" Callie turned her head, trying to hide the flicker of panic in her eyes. "I accidentally knocked things over. Since you're here, I'll head out." Belinda found her behavior odd but didn't think much of it. She started tidying up the scattered items on the floor. Just then, the director appeared at the doorway with Shane Robinson's assistant, Henry. The director said, "She is the doctor who was on duty last night, Belinda." Henry walked in, glanced at Belinda's name badge, and said, "Come with me." Belinda was a bit confused. "Where are we going?" "Come on, hurry up," the director urged, not giving her a chance to ask more questions. He pulled her along, saying, "Don't keep Mr. Robinson waiting."